All right, welcome to Nested Loops. We're doing chapter 6. And as you can see, Brett is ready to present, so I'll turn it over to him.
All right, this is Write the Pitch. Let's see. My fan is pretty loud. I don't know if you guys can hear it.
Oh, yeah, I gotta figure out what can I kill. As you do that, I will see if I'll just kill browser windows until my fan stops.
All right, let's see. Let's see if I can make this better. Okay, write the pitch. Help others understand, digest, and respond. I think this presentation is going to go pretty quick, so if anyone has anything to say, please interject. All right, the pitch we have already, based on previous chapters, elements of a solution. We de-risked out the concept, and we have a good option to give to a team. Let's see if I go with that. But our concept is still in our heads or decipher drawings. Let's put it into a form that others can understand, digest, and respond to. The purpose of the pitch is to present a good potential bet, is basically a presentation. People who schedule projects can make an informed bet with this pitch. There's 5 ingredients of the pitch: the problem, which is the raw idea and the use case, the appetite, how much time and how that constrains our solution, the solution, which is the core elements in a form to be immediately understood, rabbit holes, which are details about the solution worth calling out to avoid problems, and anything excluded from the concept of no-goes. So to go into more detail about each ingredient, the first ingredient, the problem, it is critical to present a problem and solution together. The problem helps establish a basis for whether the solution is good or bad. The solution may sound great, it may be an awesome solution, but it may not necessarily apply to the problem that we have. So if we don't have the problem, we can't give others an opportunity to interject if there's a better solution. So really, we would just be discussing a solution with no context. So as simple as it is, and as obvious as it sounds that they state in the book, it's pretty easy to forget the problem. So it's worth noting. And this considering of the problem against the solution provides a good fitness test. And basically what I've already said, but bets are better placed against a problem. What if a problem is only for a subset of users who are poor fit anyway? We can spend 6 weeks on an ingenious solution that only benefits a small percentage of users. So it's not a good return on investment. If you present a solution to the stakeholders, they may say it sounds great, but I mean, businesses generally are to make money unless it's nonprofit, I guess. So if you're not going to make any more money off of it, why even bother, kind of thing. So why even bother building a solution if the ROI is no good? Yeah, and I've seen this particular thing with data science when we're trying to make something more efficient, or from a computer science standpoint, make it loop less, or whatever it is, like the N to 1 versus end to end. And at the end of the day, it's like, if you could just run it and it takes 5 minutes, who really cares anyway? Yeah. All right, ingredient number 2, the appetite. So we want to come up with a way to solve this problem use case within 6 weeks. I love this section because this is kind of the way I look at the majority of the things that I work on. And stating the appetite during a pitch prevents unproductive conversations. And the reason why I say it's the way I look at things is there's always a better solution. And if we only have 6 weeks, we're trying to look at how does this specific solution look to fit within 6 weeks. Anybody can suggest expensive and complicated solutions. we can all go on tangents about how, we could maybe write the thing in 5 lines of code instead of 20, but at the end of the day, we're going to have 5 people sitting in a meeting or multiple discovery planning meetings for hours just to get that. There's no point. I'm pretty black and white about that. So appetite can make finding a solution more difficult. Mark Twain has been misrepresented in saying this quote. I forget who the quote was from, and I don't know if you guys think it would be directly related, but it reminded me of this quote, this famous quote, which everyone thinks Mark Twain said, but it wasn't really him. He was misattributed to it. I've only made this letter longer because I have not had the time to make it shorter. I don't know if anyone knows that quote.
Yeah, I know.
To edit it.
Sorry?
I have not had the time to edit it.
Yeah. All right. And that's something that I notice all the time. I don't know if it's like over-engineering, but like as an engineer, we engineers, we always over-engineer things. I feel like it's like the de facto, it's just the way we work. So we have to, I guess it shouldn't be blanket said about all engineers, but I think it's something that we have to constantly bring back and contemplate as whether we're over-engineering. And stating the appetite and embracing it as a constraint turns everyone into a partner, which goes in line with all that because, if you don't explicitly say, hey, we're trying to do this within 6 weeks, as soon as you say that, everyone's like, okay, I understand why you're kind of doing it in a less than ideal way, especially if it's something that's going to be thrown away. All right, ingredient 3, solution, the main part of it, I guess. Sometimes companies bet on problems with no solution. We really need to make it easier to find things on the messages section. Customers are complaining about it. I love this bullet. I don't think I actually ever really thought about this until my current job, but it's something that I think that we at Hedgeye are pretty good about thinking about, and it always shocks me whenever we look at it in that perspective, because I'm always like, oh man, wow. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts about that, but I really love that point. To take a step back, all engineers always want to solve problems. We're always focused on solving the problem. Sometimes you need someone that's not an engineer to point out that there's no point. A problem without a solution is unshaped work. Giving it to a team means pushing research and exploration down to the wrong level, which can be aggravating. And skill sets, time limits, and risks profiles are misaligned, like whether it's heavy tail, where you're doing the evaluation. And people, it's their whole job to shape the work.
And spirit, and go!
Hand it off to someone else who's not shaping work on a regular basis. It's more context switching. It's going to take them longer. So if no solution, go back and shape the work during the shaping track. Only ready to bet when the problem, appetite, and solution come together. Because then you can properly scrutinize and judge.
I think it's key in this part, that first bullet, is because we set the problem up front. So in that case, I guess the problem is customers complaining about it. But you have to narrow. I think we're pretty good about narrowing what the fix is, or at least what the scope is. Like when I look at, by the time we get to here, well, we have a problem, and then we have to think about what the problem is and how to solve it. And
I think the issue most of the time is how you come up with a solution. Quite often in most companies, like the HIPPO, highest paid person opinion, they trumps everybody else, and they come up with a solution that has no backing to it, but that because it's highest paid person, that's what you end up doing, and you have no reason to believe that is going to solve it. So
Right.
I think a lot of the work needs to be done there in general. Like come up with a solution, yes, but a solution, why do we believe this is going to fix it?
Right. And I mean, I've seen engineers, make a solution and it's not even for the problem. It's like for a different problem and they misunderstood. So.
Right.
That's where some of the planning, like pre-planning discussions come in, like with UI UX and with like the stakeholders, right? Because they're the ones that have, well, I guess at least within Agile, they have a better idea of the problem. Like engineers identify like other issues, right? But like customer-facing problems, like when we're trying to solve those, like you really have to get into the UI UX discussions and just like vet some ideas and make sure the solution that engineering is building is
right.
the one.
Cool. So yeah, I thought that was good. All right. Solution, help them see it. Okay, so during the elements phase, it's critical to sketch ideas at the right level of abstraction. The pitch is the same thing. You need to stay high level for the stakeholders. I don't know if this could be blanketly said, but it's like the stakeholders are not engineers a lot of the time, most of the time, I don't think. So it needs to be high level. The people who look at the pitch and look at the drawings without much context need to get the idea pretty quickly. They say immediately. But you need more concreteness than just a couple of meetings that you had earlier on when developing the pitch. And you don't want to over specify. Wireframes, etc. will box designers who do the work later, that's always painful. You can almost see it happen in real time. And wireframes also can cause distraction of discussing stuff like color, proportions, and layout. So you really have to find this right level to avoid these two extremes. But the problem with handwritten breadboards is it has like you had to be there quality for them. Where if you're looking at the breadboards, unless you were there while the breadboards were being created, they just kind of look like a bunch of mess. So you have to find the right level. So we need techniques to help people see the idea while not going too far into irrelevant details. Here's an example of that. Here's a breadboard. If a stakeholder saw this breadboard, they'd probably just look at it and, well, then you have to sit there and concentrate and look through it in the middle of a meeting. That's no good. Although they say later on, and I'm gonna go over it, they like to have pitches not be part of a meeting, but be part of a write-up. So, I mean, you can't really glance at the left. The right, it helps a stakeholder understand where this would be placed on the dashboard, but it's too abstract. So on the right is what we end up settling with, which is not a breadboard, not just like a blob at the top, but kind of like a simple design. And in the design, they put footnotes that would say something like, designers don't feel limited to this style of having a line down the center with two sections on the right and left. So they would have this, but then also kind of note, hey, stakeholders, when you see the final solution, it may actually not necessarily look like this, but it's the part of the design that we had to show. The book goes into, there are some negative aspects of even doing this, but they just decided that it was necessary in order to get the point across. So that's why they kind of put some footnotes. Does anyone have any questions or any thoughts about that?
Okay, let me see. I still feel these pictures are kind of like you have to be there. But I guess there's a certain scope of familiarity you need to have. It's not like we're saying off the street. It's because I'm not currently in the base camp payment mode that I'm looking at these and go, oh, I still don't get it. I guess I kind of get it. But I'm guessing anyone who went to these meetings would be somewhat familiar with these things, so maybe it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. All right. I don't know if it was this section, but they had some examples. I guess it was later on. They have some examples of full pitches that I didn't want to include in the presentation, but if you didn't look through them, they are really good. They're like full examples where they have a post. I guess I'll go into that a little bit. So ingredient number 4, rabbit holes. Sometimes it just requires a few lines of text. Using the payment form project as an example, the shapers call out that there wouldn't be a specific solution, or sorry, they call out a specific solution for how to create URLs. The URLs would never live on a custom domain for version 1. Basically just spelling out any potential rabbit holes will avoid a whole line of discussion that we don't care about. So yeah, all part of shaping the work and making sure that it fits within the appetite is just saying flat out, we're not going to go down this road. Don't want to go down that road. All right, ingredient number 5, no-goes. I guess that's actually kind of tied to that. Anything we're not going to do in this concept. In the payment form project, the team decided upfront not to allow any kind of what you see is what you get editing of the form. Users are only able to provide a logo and customize the header text on a separate customized page. Of course, what you see is what you get might be better in some people's eyes. I'm sure it would be in many people's eyes, but given the appetite, it was important to mark this as a no-go. It's kind of interesting because I see no-goes and rabbit holes so tied together. Okay, so you're ready to present. You have to make the case that it's a bet worth making. I like this idea of the bet. I probably will in the future use that word bet, like when I'm trying to make some type of proposal, just so that I can make sure that I'm focusing on the right things. Basecamp prefers asynchronous communication by default, so that's what I was saying a little bit earlier. They make an actual post. They don't have like a meeting for this. It gives everyone the maximum amount of time under their own control to do actual work. So they'll escalate only to real time when it's necessary. Their first step is to post this write-up with all of the ingredients somewhere for the stakeholders. I know this is very specific to the way that we work at Hedgeye, but I see me doing a lot of this in 2 places, and one place is better, but they're probably neither of them are ideal. I do it in a pivotal card, and I'll put something like proposition or potential, just so that an engineer doesn't just pick it up and start working on it randomly. Or I'll make a whole write-out in Slack, which is actually terrible, but I do that a lot. Part of the problem with that is only 1 or 2 people will respond. I don't know how you guys feel about like actually listing out these ingredients for proposals in the future for our work. I think it may actually be a great idea that even if we use Pivotal as our medium for this, that we actually say explicitly ingredient 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we make sure that we don't miss it.
No, I mean, I like the structure, right? Because you can sort of see. Part of what I like is it goes back to the focus of what can we do in 6 weeks. Like we always have some elements of what they're showing, but theirs just really fit into, look, we're gonna pitch something for something that we have the appetite to do in 6 weeks, and so this is a I mean, per the name of the book, this pre-shaping, so that ultimately we can succeed at the 6-week thing, right? Like I think it's like a lot of things where we have a lot of elements of what they do, but I don't think it's put together in that package, which I still feel the focus is really how do we pre-shape stuff so we'll succeed for the 6 weeks. And the mistake that always seems to happen, I think, for all of us guys that do iterative processes, is we just keep rolling stuff into the other one. And because of that, we'll call it that safety net, well, there's always another iteration. we're not forced to shape it up. It's back to them having a 6-week thing, of which if we don't finish in 6 weeks, we might can it. Like we talk about it, but we never can anything. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
so I like the structure. I keep thinking about what can we do, or what are we missing that this structure might help us with.
Right. I like it because I think it's easy to forget the things, or I don't know how they do it, and I could go down a rabbit hole with this, but I like the idea of people being able to look at the pitch even much later down in the process. I don't know if that's a bad idea, but if I was an engineer working on something way after this, like even after the managers, the stakeholders scheduled it, I could see how there'd be some benefit as the engineer working on it to go back and look at the pitch. That might be distracting, but yeah, I was thinking about that. Okay. So yeah, they do the write-up and they put it somewhere for stakeholders to review. Ideally, everyone has time to read the pitches in advance, but if not, at least you have something that you can pull up in a quick live sell. And how Basecamp does it is they post pitches as messages in Basecamp. They have a specific category. They include the 5 ingredients. They include fat marker sketches as needed. They specifically say that they use iPads and they use some type of drawing app, which I think is cool because then it's kind of standardized where everyone does it the same. I kind of like the idea of, having it that clear for everyone. Saying, hey, use this tool, that way it's consistent. They assign these to the product strategy team, who have people that are on the betting table, and people comment on the pitch asynchronously, not to say yes or no, but to poke holes or contribute missing information. So not necessarily only the product strategy team, but I guess like a CTO or I would expect that even just another engineer on the peer level could comment on it. Although I guess I could see how that would also be distracting. And that's actually it. Let me see. Just stop presenting for a second.
So I'm wondering, part of the problem I have with some asynchronous stuff is that we lose track of stuff. Like they use, obviously Basecamp uses Basecamp in lieu of Slack. But I feel like we lose so much stuff in Slack. Did you see that? Did you see that? Sometimes we even saw it and then we forgot it. Sometimes we don't see it. Sometimes, there's a flu. You come back from lunch and there's 700 messages and you read 652 of them and you missed the 52 that had this thing that someone said, oh, did you see that thing on Tuesday? It was there. I just didn't see it. So I don't know. I feel that there's some discipline there. I feel like we need to do some kind of, I don't know that we can pitch abstractly and stay on top of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, my thought in response to that is, although I'm very strict and probably kind of mean when it comes to this, I think it comes down to a mandated requirement that certain people respond. I have the problem where 1 or 2 people respond. Who's responsible? Who needs to do it? If you have a proposal somewhere and it's a requirement that individual A, B, and C must respond, I don't think that would be a problem. Like you're saying, it kind of gets lost, but that's because out of individual A, B, and C, only C looks. So if all proposals that are done by Friday have to be reviewed by individuals A, B, and C by the following Friday, then there's more accountability. That's kind of how I see it. And I don't think Slack is the right place. But so I wasn't going to show it, but this is one of their examples. Just because I think it might lead to further conversation. They were talking about grouping. You guys can all see this, right?
Yep.
They're talking about grouping of to-do lists. And the way that they were doing it is either by doing these like fake lines, or they were putting like this QA title at the beginning, which I know it's specific to Hedgehog, but in Pivotal, when we have tasks on a specific card, we do a lot of this. So they talk about how they would like to have grouping and, but what I like about the proposal, and I guess it's not that big of a deal, but I like how they say stuff like, hey, any new groups are going to be created at the bottom. So let's say we have 10 different to-do items and 2 of them are in group A and 2 of them are group B. The other 6 items are just always going to be at the top. And if there's a couple ways to add items to a group or to create new groups, you can create a new group by selecting a couple to-dos and then saying create a new group, and automatically it creates a new group that's unnamed. It's cool how, it's pretty detailed in my opinion. I like how they're that detailed. They say, hey, it's going to create a new group that's unnamed. It's those like small details that help like restrict the scope to the appetite. Mm-hmm. So I really like that. And then they were saying like, at the very end, they talk about, well, what if you have to reorder a group? Do you move everything? So this is the form that they do it. It looks like this in totality, but it's like a big, long post. Yeah, this is a really good example of it. And if you didn't look through it, anyone have any questions or comments about this specifically? Or I was hoping that would go somewhere, but
I like it. I kind of think the if we can do this, we should try to come back. Well, I think one of 2 things. Either we write a pitch together, which I think might be hard because you need an idea, or we go and we write our own pitches and come back and show them. Because the real exercise is, we've seen what this is, and I go, I kind of like some things. I just think we need some practice trying. If that makes any sense. This is the equivalent of doing the exercise that's in the book.
What were you gonna say, Alex?
Well, so yeah, earlier on they were talking about how you shouldn't use like breadboarding, to pitch, right? Because it's like these people won't necessarily have like those intimate details. But were they explicitly saying like, oh, use fat marker sketches over breadboarding, or was it just like use a more?
I was kind of thinking that. It's not like explicitly said from what I got, but yeah.
Like the sketches definitely, I guess, convey more info to people who might not have as great of knowledge, I guess, on the project, right?
Yeah. I'm suddenly struck, and I'm going to trying to keep it as generic as possible, but like for our accounts page redesign, we have some issues, some pain points, some problems. We might be able to pitch a solution to those in this format. Because I don't know if anyone looked at the list of pain points. I glanced them over last week.
I'm gonna say, since this is public,
that's why I'm keeping it generic. I don't think I said anything that anyone could possibly get anything out of, except the fact that there are pain points that we could do this against.
Right. Just a reminder.
Right. I'm saying for us as an exercise, and I'll point this at Alexis and Jeff, because when I look at pictures like this, there's a pain point, so there's a problem. We take pain point 1, whichever that one is. Oh, users can't find this, and I think we could, and actually I know there were some suggestions to the problem, so we could look at that and draw little pictures like at this level. Hey, here's his thing, his current product, and his duration, or this is where the yearly lives, or I don't know.
Yeah, this would be an interesting route to go about like finding the solution. I already thought we within the UI UX team can do like some type of paper prototyping, is what I guess designers traditionally call this type of stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna look at Brett, is this part of the book?
Yeah, it's part of the book, and you can.
Cool.
I'll put the link. Yeah,
I just clicked on it. Okay.
This is a great example.
Yeah, we'll see how we can incorporate it in the process.
I mean, they go into details. Hey, you can name a divider anything you want. It can't be checked off. It's not a to-do itself. The key to the concept will be we'll add to-do buttons at the bottom of each group. So once a divider exists, you can. So it's pretty detailed. And I like that people could comment on it asynchronously.
Yeah, making it visible for everybody is like the thing I guess I would take away from this process. Like that's a new thing.
Yeah, I like that. I could see how it'd be a distraction. I could see how it's not like part of certain individuals' roles, but I can think of examples where I was trying to implement or solve something, and the scope didn't necessarily tell me how to do it. So we made a decision on how to do it right there in real time, just to find out that like a week later that there actually was a whole discussion on it during the UI UX meetings that I was not a part of, that we forgot about. So I don't know. More visibility, available visibility. I personally would love. I know that's very specific to the way we work at Hedgehog, but yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good takeaway.
Of course, you always have thoughts. What do you got?
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what we can extract out of this. And again, I think op sector stuff probably. I think before we work an op sector project, we should write a pitch. And then what that helps us with is the thing that we lose. And I think my original vision of op sector is I didn't have a good sense of how we would do the time. And of course, since it's a spare time as available time, it's kind of unbounded, but maybe we should bound. Hey, we'll do an op sector thing, which will be 20% of 6 weeks. Can we make it fit? Can we concretely pitch something where this is the problem, this is how we're going to solve it, and if we do it this way, it'll fit this time split. I'm trying to figure out how can we pull the things shaping for the appetite into stuff that we do. Obviously, op sector, I think we could much more follow this than our normal development. And I'm just trying to figure out, I kind of want to write some pitches and get the hang of things, because I think the truth of it.
Well, yeah, for our organization, we may find that we don't want the 5 ingredients. We may want to alter it. So I say if we just were to choose and just run with it, well, at least we have a start. Yeah, I agree. We'll have a starting point. Something I like about this pitch concept, I don't know if it's actually the way that they see it or the way they work, is it seems like anyone can write a pitch. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, as like a new level engineer, you often have no role in trying to come up with like new ideas or new priorities. So I don't know, something about this written pitch idea makes me feel as though any role can make a pitch. Does that make sense to you, or?
Yeah, I think that's how it is in the organization.
I think
Like,
it's
you
possible.
think a copywriter at their organization could just write a pitch randomly, just to maybe not.
I think it could be a designer or a developer or somebody else, and because the process, like you can come up with a solution, talk to the expert, right? And in that phase, you get all the technical information that you need. Because like generally solutions are not technical, right? Most user-based problem have very much to do with UI or product. Like they have to do with features and not with something that is backend. So anybody can come up with a solution, and then there'll be, it's up to whoever else to develop it.
I think this process allows anyone to write the pitch. right? Just by having the steps and anyone can. There's a format that you can fill out and go through, so that's good. I think in practice, because they talked in the beginning of the book, they have like different shaping tracks versus developing tracks. So there are people that are constantly shaping while other teams are developing, and that's kind of how they keep rolling. So I think in practice, I think everyone doesn't write pitches, but everyone could, because there's a concrete thing. You just got to fill out the 5 parts. Right?
Makes sense.
You know, so I don't know but going to ops sector, I'm waiting to hear your pitches. Give me your pitch. They don't have to be at the moment. They're all my crazy ideas. It's like I'm happy to hear your crazy ideas, and if we actually put and this is how it'll fit in 6 weeks, that's even better. Because that would make it, I think when it comes back to, it makes it easier for me to bet on things. Here's crazy idea 1, it's unbounded. Here's crazy idea 2, and it could possibly work in 6 weeks. And I go, oh, well, which one will I pick? I'll probably pick the one that fits in 6 weeks. And I realize most of my crazy pitches are largely unbounded because there's just in the idea phase. I think before we work on anything, we should write that down. But I'm ready to hear your pitches. So as far as ops sector is going, anyone can throw a pitch. In fact, I'm hoping you have a good pitch that will bring us much prosperity. So, all right, any thoughts, Jeffrey? So
yeah, it'd be interesting to try this on some things.
Yeah, Jeff can have a pitch. Jeff can stop being the pitch for other people. You can have your own individual pitch. Right now, you're the pitch man for others.
I am Jeff.
You can be the self pitch. We need 2 more guys so we can do the Brady Bunch thing with this thing.
There you go.
This is the Brady Bunch mode for me.
Well, so there'll be some interesting things coming up, so here's something to think about where we could try this. Some of our stuff is just making products, right? That's just launching a new product is pretty much a template, right?
Yeah. But
there's some new studio stuff coming up because the studio now there's been turnover in the studio. So they have a lot of new ideas.
Jeff. Look at Diego's face.
What? Oh, what's up?
Look at Diego. We're not supposed to talk too much proprietary internal stuff. Keep it as generic.
What?
Keep it as generic as possible.
What am I careful of? What?
Oh,
we're public, right? This is public.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Oh, okay.
But generically, there are opportunities for pitching, is what you're saying. That's kind of where. Just trying to keep generic. That's it. All right.
The rocket's almost ready in competition with Elon Musk. Launches next week.
And that's how we all
We're going to Mars first.
Yeah.
Using this method. We did it.
Pretty there. All right. I guess I'll leave it at that.
All right. I guess we stifled Jeff. Now he can't tell us his idea. Okay. All right. So then 7. Who's doing 7? We shall do
7 is very short. I actually almost did it because I thought this was going to go so short, but then I realized people might not have read it. 7 3 pages.
Have you peeked ahead to 8? Should it be 7 and 8?
8 is pretty substantial, it's not that long. So yeah, I would do 7 and 8. 7 is 2 and an 8 pages. So yeah, 7 and 8 it would have to be.
All right. Who's next? Who hasn't gone?
I guess me.
All right. Don will be off.
Yeah,
Actually, the other side part, I don't know if we want to introduce, do we want to try and do some pitches at home and come back with a little show and tell at the beginning?
Yeah, just in general, or?
I feel like this part, it would be great if we actually wrote a pitch. We'd learn more if we tried, even if they're these crappy, and that's the reality. The reality is your first couple pitches will be crappy anyways. So if we can get it out.
Can the pitch be for anything, like, just any product?
Anything, I think for the exercise, anything you want that you're willing to share. Or if it's a little proprietary, we could have a non-shared with the outside world pitching thing, but I think we should write some pitches.
I agree. I was thinking about some proposals, some pitches, because yeah, I wanted to find the example. My joke pitch is: you got COVID. The solution is to use public cameras and Amazon AI to scan everyone's face that has COVID, and then spam their Twitters with their picture without them having a mask on. But the appetite is we only focus on Twitter.
I like that. That's an exercise.
We only focus on people in New York. I don't know.
So think about, yeah. I mean, think about your pitch. I was actually going to pitch some kind of COVID pitch. It's like, okay, anything that you don't think that you're not giving away the farm or revealing our secret rocket, then we could share that. And if we have actually internal pitches we don't want to share, maybe we can review that outside. But if we have a public pitch, I think that would be useful. Something you're not hoping to make $1 million and someone watches your pitch and steals it. So who knows? Maybe your Twitter shamer, Twitter COVID shamer, someone will make money off that.
So we're saying have those ready for the next meeting.
If you can. The problem with the thing is you may not be able to come up with anything. But I thought it would be a suitable follow-up to this chapter. Write your own pitch. I think that's the whole thing. It's like I keep looking at, I should write a pitch for something I want to try to do. Or we could come up, so one of us could come up with a problem, and then it could be the group's exercise to try to write a pitch for it. That's also something that's an exercise. Individual pitch writing could be something. Team pitch writing could be something. I think they all be useful skills. It's like, I always talked about having like the week-long startup week team builder. The first morning could be shaping up and making a pitch for the rest of the startup week.
Right.
And we could use some process like this because we do have a fixed thing. If we're talking a week-long startup, then we're talking 4.5 days. So if you spend a half a day to shape something up for a week-long
That sounds like a design sprint.
exercise, and then we go and build it, which would be the more fun part. So maybe that'll be the OpSector team building thing. So okay, that's my thought. All right, so Don will do 7 and maybe 8, and who knows, if you have a big pitch, all he does is 7. So think about your pitches, show me your pitches, and same thing for OpSector. You got a pitch, send me a pitch. Of course, we got to finish our other stuff before we can build OpSector stuff, but there you go. All right, well then, thank you for coming. Enjoy. Don't tell any more people about our rockets.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.